Good morning, good noon, good evening, wherever time and place you're listening to us from, straight from the 909. It's Mark, Ali, myself, Isaiah, and together, that's hip-hop. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Today, we're discussing a very early seed type figure in the world of hip-hop. Scarface is recognized for his profound influence on the genre's evolution, particularly in the Southern and gangsta rap scenes. Emerging from Houston, Texas in the late 1980s as a member of the Ghetto Boys, Scarface quickly established himself as a voice of gritty realism, weaving narratives that were both harrowing and deeply human. His style is characterized by introspective lyrics, a deep, resonant voice, and storytelling that delves into the psyche of life on the streets, exploring themes of poverty, violence, and survival while also touching on vulnerability and mental health. He was a part of the Ghetto Boys. He was on 7 of their albums, all with the exception to the very first album in 1988. He had, there was 1 platinum out of that group, which was We Can't Be Stopped, 2 gold, Until Death Do Us Part and The Resurrection, 11 solo albums since Scarface is back, The Diary and The Untouchable and My Homies, all reaching platinum status, which is crazy. And with other certified classics like Scarface is Back, Mr. Scarface, The World Is Yours, Scarface The Fix, Scarface The Last of the Dying Breed. And he's also had other albums that reached gold. He was honored by BET with the I Am Hip Hop Award in 2015. And in 2001, he won Best Lyricist over the likes of Prodigy, Talib, Jay-Z, and Eminem. The resume speaks for itself, gentlemen. We are discussing one of the early fathers of hip-hop, pioneers of the South sound. There was just nobody doing it like the way he did it when he started. I chose this album today because I always hear Scarface's name in the mouths of some of my favorite lyricists and MCs, and I've heard him once with Tupac on Smile, which is the biggest song ever. And that one, I remember hearing him, but I never dived deep into him. I don't know why. I just never, got to. But every time I always hear my favorite rappers talking about Scarface. And I was just like, you know what? It's time. It's time to get into it. So that's the reason why I chose him. I'm going to ask you guys, what was your experience like, and how you were introduced into Scarface. First, I'll ask you, Mark, how were you introduced into Scarface, the world of him?
I remember in U.S. history class, probably like 10th grade, someone was talking with me about hip-hop music and mentioned Scarface in particular. And I'm like, I didn't know who that was. And I'm like, they said it with so much emphasis that I was curious as to who he was. So you end up doing your homework and figuring him out, and you're like, wow, it's the amount of backtracking you have to do. It's the amount of it's kind of like you kind of feel like apologetic towards it because you've been ignorant of the man, but not because you purposely did it, but it was just like, wow. Now I get to listen to him and then go back to what he was doing. There's a history to him, and it's going to be a pleasure talking about him, talking about this album, because even through the popularity of his Tiny Desk concert that he recently did, he's starting to get more shine. Even added to that, he's actually going to be doing a live band tour that's coming around the Garden Amphitheater too, where we usually have our concerts at. So he's even taking that Tiny Desk concert approach into different venues, which is cool.
Yeah. Peace to that amphitheater, by the way. That amphitheater's been like getting some legends. We just recently saw Master Ace there. And before that, we saw
Prodigy.
Prodigy, not Prodigy, but
I mean,
you're talking about Havoc.
Yeah.
You know, so they're just like signing up a lot. They had KRS One there and Rakim not too long ago.
Yeah.
We happened to miss those two.
Yeah, the GZA as well.
Yeah. So they've been doing it. But for you, Ali,
first time I heard him was definitely on Smile because that song was everywhere. It came out. I think it came out right before or right after Tupac died, but it was right in there. I know it was 96. I just know I can't forget if it was right before or right after, but that song was huge. I love the video, the imagery of it all. He really stood out to me then, but I would say when I really took a deep dive was 2002. The video for On My Block came out, and I just loved how that song felt. I loved the video. It was creative. It was creative while being simple. He basically was just walking around Houston, and it didn't show it from his point of view, but it just showed a bunch of different people and kids and families and homeless people. It just showed a bunch of different aspects, and then in the end, it kind of showed him, just receiving a bunch of love, going back to Houston. So when that song came out, then when the album The Fix came out, I listened to that album and was blown away by the imagery, the storytelling, the fact that he was respected by so many great MCs. I mean, Jay-Z's on the album, Nas is on the album. One of Kanye's earlier beats he did was on there. So so after listening to that album, then I went back to listen to a few of his other albums, and the one I really liked besides The Fix was The Untouchable. And that was heavy West Coast influence. He had a song with Daz on there. He has a song with Dr. Dre, Too Short, and Ice Cube. So really heavy West Coast influence
legends,
on there. So and just growing up, like all the legends, all of them, they all respect Scarface, from, like I said, Jay-Z, Nas, all the way down to like Too Short, UGK, Outkast, you name it.
Yeah.
They
on
all
Drink Champs, there were so many legends that they have just giving him his flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never seen on Drink Champs an episode where that many legends are like getting on like they're making a video to give him the praise.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never seen that on Drink Champs like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's been well documented how much respect he gets in the game. Even so much so to where, for example, like DMX doesn't publicly acknowledge a lot of rappers. Like, he just didn't, during his life. But he always gave it up to Scarface. He made sure to do that. And that was big, especially somebody from New York doing that, giving that much love to a Southern artist. And I always tell everybody, my favorite Southern rapper, Scarface. It's been that way since 2002. And I'm excited to review this album, which I always heard about The Diary, but I never really took a deep dive into it before, I knew we were going to review this album. So I'm excited to give this album its flowers. Because like I said, I only knew a couple songs before, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I want to say the two songs that really I remember growing up hearing Scarface is Mind Playing Tricks on Me, his version of it, and then also Smile. Those are the two ones that I remember hearing him. I think probably some other features too. I just can't think of them at the moment, but because I know he's featured on other people, on other MCs projects, like I'm sure I've heard him. But those are the two that stand out to me where I've heard him. His voice is familiar in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad that we got to now kind of sit down and actually go into his world, because it's a vast world when you really look at it. Like, it was hard to even prepare for this episode because there's 11 solo albums he's done, plus all the work he's done with the Ghetto Boys. And it's like, to really kind of understand, it's like, you got to kind of digest all of it. I love everything about this dude. I feel like, when he came onto the Ghetto Boys, he added more depth to that group.
Oh, yeah.
By bringing that realism and by bringing that more gritty sound, it like just gave him another dynamic. And to me, I hear a lot of from the Ghetto Boys. I mean, I hear I hear what we probably hear later, you know, or I'm not sure who came first. You guys could tell me maybe. Like Cube, I hear a lot of Ice Cube, you know, in their tone. Chuck D is another one I kind of hear a lot. And I know Scarface himself has, you know, he said that he takes a lot from those two guys, plus Big Daddy Kane. He feels like, you know, lyrically, he's where Big Daddy Kane is, and storytelling, he feels like he's where Ice Cube is. And then for as far as vocally, he feels he's like where Chuck D's at. I could totally hear that. Yeah. You could hear that. I just think he's, and you also hear Pac, you know, you hear the early seeds of what Pac sounds like later, or even DMX, like you mentioned. And when you think about that, those dynamic ranges that he's influenced just in that little sphere is crazy. Yeah. Not to mention Biggie, or not to mention Jay-Z, like you mentioned, or Kanye. You know, there's just so many artists this guy's influenced. And that's not even speaking of the South.
No.
And there's so many artists from the South that he's influenced.
Absolutely.
Because at that point in time, I don't know, the sound for the South was very limited, I think, at that time.
You really just had Ghetto Boys, UGK, and then like about 94, that's when Outkast came out.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. Like it wasn't really a whole lot, you know, I mean, we're going to stick in this period, 94. Right. That kind of was it in the South. Like it wasn't really a whole lot on a mainstream level. They were doing their thing locally. You know, you had like Two Live Crew. They were pretty popular for sure.
Too,
You know what I mean? So from Miami. But
it's a short list.
It's a very short list. By the time we get to 94, we're talking 4 or 5 acts, and that's about it.
Yeah. Because then you give it a decade and probably a decade and a half to when H-Town finally comes around with the who's who of hip hop, R&B, and a lot of those people are gonna, like all the artists that you've mentioned through the Drink Champs podcast, given the vote of confidence. That vote of confidence is also the people. You can also add the people that are inspired by him within just his area.
Yep.
Because we don't get, as an artist, you do not get platinum sales without the people that you're directly in the area with. I mean, Houston had his back.
For sure.
You know, like with the sales effort, you're at least pulling in $250K within your major city.
Easy.
You know, $250K, at least 500,000 within your city. That's all. That kind of already guarantees a gold effort if your city's behind you like that.
Right.
You know, C Too Short, C E40.
And we're talking about a guy who brought Ludacris to the world.
Signed him to Def Jam South. Yep.
And he was also running Def Jam. Was it like
Def Jam South?
Def Jam South. That's kind of crazy. Like he was running that and would have. I think he was trying to sign other artists from the South, if I'm not mistaken.
They had
pretty big names.
They had Player Circle, which is where 2 Chainz started. Dang. In that group.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? So he had other acts, but obviously the biggest one blowing up was Ludacris. Which, just think of that. Like the fact that one of the biggest artists to ever come out came up under the umbrella of Scarface. Like we would have never heard of Ludacris. We would have never got 10 Fast and Furious movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to think about that when you know what I mean? If Luda doesn't get signed under Scarface, who knows?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's funny. Yeah. As far as like style of Scarface, I mean, we've touched a little bit on it, but what are you guys hearing as far as style?
The preacher cadence is one thing that stuck out to me a lot with hearing the diary. And you need that for being an effective storyteller. You need that. Preachers need it for the sermon. And a good storyteller knows how to, knows the highs and lows of his stories.
Yeah.
And with, the preacher cadence, listening to the lyrics, you can do a 1-to-1 swap with him and Tupac, and you're honestly you can hear the same lyrics if you even switched over from, if Scarface took Pac's lyric book and switched it the other way around, you're like, wow, these guys sound one and the same. The
like they're brothers or something.
Yeah, exactly. Separated at birth.
Yeah. Seriously.
But that's he's in rarefied air. Even him, telling you that he has the speaking ability of Chuck D. Chuck D is literally a college professor. He runs college courses at the university that he teaches at, but still you're rooted into Public Enemy. You're rooted into Chuck D with being one key example of having that preacher, the orator cadence.
Dude. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But you need that for that message. Public Enemy needed that for that message of activism and like the civil rights, and Scarface needed it to tell the story of H-Town.
Seriously. I would say with his style, I would say it's very, like we mentioned, the preacher cadence, deep rooted in the South, heavy, church going bass. But deeper than that in the hip hop, he told a story on Drink Champs when he worked with Tupac. When they did Smile, he kind of was, because he was like, it takes me a long time to do songs. He was like, and Pac would do, a song every 15 minutes.
That's what I like about
He said
Pac.
it's just nuts.
There's like 4 albums unreleased content.
He's like, how do you do this? And
a backlog of albums, just a backlog.
It takes me an hour to do a song.
He would have put DMX to shame.
You got 3 songs in an hour. How do you do this? And then he kind of just was breaking down his style of making a record. But the one thing that he kept with him was, he said, the last line, that's the hook. That's the song. Whatever you say at the end of your verse, that's the hook. So, when you think of Tupac songs, I get around. At the end of each of his verses, he says, I get around. Keep your head up. He ends his verses with keep your head up. 2 of America's Most Wanted, he mentions that. How do you want it? I ain't mad at you, et cetera, et cetera. Scarface,
that's crazy.
After hooking up with Pac, he kind of started doing the same thing where, he has a song called Game Over. He ends both his verses with the game's over. On My Block, he ends all his verses with that. He does that a lot of his songs after 96, kind of taking that Pac energy. So I love that about his style. And then as far as, the beats, they sound very Houston. You know what I mean? And he's a co-producer in his own right. And this album in particular, I think of all his albums that I can think of, this one sounds the most like Houston to me. Like, when I threw this on, I felt like I was right back in Houston. For y'all don't know, I lived in Houston for 10 years.
Yeah, I was about to drop that.
I had to mention that. Yeah, I lived in Houston for 10 years, and literally Scarface, you see him everywhere. There's murals of him. Actually, quick story, met him at my job once. I checked him in a hotel. I had to be professional. It was crazy, but I just checked him in. As soon as he walked away, I'm like, oh, that was Scarface.
He writes about Ali in track 8.
It's like
at the hotel.
It's just crazy. Like, I was just blown away. And that's the thing with Houston. A lot of things when it comes to Houston rappers, unlike a lot of other big cities, Houston rappers, you can see them anywhere. You can see Bun B at the grocery store, Slim Thug. I literally ran into him at a gas station. Like, it's that regular. And Scarface kind of keeps that aura in his music. Like, I'm just a regular Houston dude with a story to tell. And I feel like I get that essence through all the music on this album.
It's like he's not really trying to brag about the accolades. He really just cares about the music, the lyricism. I feel like with Scarface, what really resonates with me is just like the fact that he's multifaceted. So he makes beats as well, produces his own stuff. And then, he is a great songwriter, excellent storyteller. He's someone that I feel like, sometimes like the whole like gangsta rap gets like a bad rap because the criticism is, well, they're not really saying nothing, they're just talking about bullshit.
They're glorifying the violence.
Yeah, and whereas this is a style that it has that gangsta feel, but it's not just talking about bullshit. Like, this is real substance here, real life things that he's talking about. Life, just life in general. the stories, the way he talks like in first person, it like feels like you're there. The way he's narrating that and taking you through this story with him, and his stories, like they just, the way that he structures it, it has like a beginning, a middle, climax, and end. There's some tracks on here where he's like basically taking you, and we're going to talk about one of these tracks where he's taking you on the walk of life. On the track I Seen a Man Die, he's taking you from like life, this guy getting out of prison and his thoughts about, you know, how he wants to please his father, and he remembers his mom's letters. It's like, what? Like, where do you get all this from? And I think his ability is similar to like a painter who paints this masterpiece and you see it and you just take it for what it is. I don't know if he's really experienced those stories or not. Maybe some of them he has, maybe some of them he hasn't. I don't know. But it feels like you're there, and whether he has or hasn't been through it, he paints it very damn well where it feels like he has.
Absolutely.
So he's really
genuinely a product of his environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like he's left such a big mark onto hip hop, you know, an imprint. And it's so crazy to me, like how an artist can leave such a big imprint, but yet still not be, like this hidden gem somehow, you know, with that Scarface is, which is crazy to me. But I like the fact that, and we have artists like that. You know, Pharoah Monch falls in that.
Oh, yeah.
Black Thought falls in that.
For sure.
You know, there's these rappers, favorite rappers. Yeah, there's these guys that are lyrical geniuses that falls. EPMD even somehow falls in that. I don't know how, but somehow they fall into that category. But I really think that this dude is just such a legend, and the fact that, like, you know, he's been doing this for so long, and the fact that he's also really into politics and activism. He was trying to be a city council
of Houston. Yep.
That is so nuts to me. Like the fact that this dude, and it just shows you how much he is really committed to the underrepresented, like, you know, not just musically, but no, this dude actually was trying to like get involved and change legislature and shit. Like, that's crazy.
Literally politicking.
Quick story on that. He when he was talking about that, he said because he was mentioning, he was like, because they asked him like, why did you want to get involved? He was just like, cause no one's doing anything. Yeah. Just simply that. He just was like, you know, people, you know, we talking and we marching. I'm tired of marching. Like, let's get in there. And forget trying to make new laws. Let's change the ones that's messed up now. Then we can try to, you know, worry about some new laws. But I thought that was a really dope perspective, hearing him talk about it that way.
Yeah, dude has a dope mindset, man. And the dude is super humble too. He's like,
very.
He doesn't like to take flowers. So even him being on Drink Champs was probably uncomfortable for him, because that's all Noriega was doing, was just giving him a bunch of. He had him a cake. He had him flowers.
He said, "I'm eating some of this cake, though."
Yeah, he was almost trying to make him cry. Yeah. Like he had Jay Prince on there, like. Through, you know, you were such and such favorite rapper and such and such favorite rapper, but you know what? To me, you were my favorite rapper. And he almost cried. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He goes, because man, Jay Prince don't like nobody. So for him to say me, man, that's real. Right there.
He kind of he vouched for him in the beginning, because they were signed under a Def Jam imprint that Rick Rubin was running. Yeah. And Rick Rubin, while he loved Willie D and loved Bushwick Bill, he didn't like Scarface that much. Like, he didn't, as far as a rapper, he didn't vibe with it at the time. But Jay Prince is like, nah, there's no Ghetto Boys going forward. And that brings
up a good point. I mean, just to talk a little bit about the Ghetto Boys, just, you know, I know one day we'll cover that album, or their albums, but just a little bit to that, you know. I think the Ghetto Boys also, in its own right, as a group, has left a mark. You know, with their projects, and they've had successful run at it as well. And I think you know, even that in its own right is legendary. You know, and sometimes breaking out of a group, we were talking about this with even from Tribe Called Quest, when Q-Tip, you know, was trying to break off. Sometimes it's not easy to do that.
Oh no,
you know, especially when you have such gifted artists working with you. But Scarface was successful in doing that, but at the same time maintaining those relationships
Yeah.
And still going forward, you know. So I thought even that is dope. But just, do you guys have anything you guys want to say about the Ghetto Boys before we continue on?
I mean, I'll just briefly mention Mind Playing Tricks, just because that song it's just such a iconic record in hip hop. It really is.
It is. Yep.
Down to the video. The video was crazy. I mean, it sounds like one big acid trip or something. Like everybody's just going through it in these different ways, and you know, but at the same time, you know, they were able to draw from their experiences, and they dealt in a sense of realism, you know, all the way down to, you know, their famous album cover on, you know, We Can't Be Stopped, where it literally was a photo being taken after, you know, with Bushwick Bill in the hospital after his girlfriend shot him in the eye. Like, it's crazy, but they wanted to keep everything as real as possible.
We're gonna get this pic.
We're gonna get this. We're doing this now. It was Jay Prince's idea. They rented a hospital. They pushing him in the gurney. Bushwick Bill looks like he's like about to die.
Yeah, just look at that album cover.
It's nuts.
Just check out the album cover and you'll see what we mean.
Yeah.
They Can't Be Stopped. Or that's just such a. I mean, that's like a legendary story.
It's crazy,
like, for sure. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about the album cover. My bad, guys. I don't have the album cover actually up right now. But the album cover itself, is going to be for the diary. And let me try to stall time while I figure it out. Here it is. Somebody's smoking.
Fresh old cigarette.
That's the album cover. That was from me editing earlier. So the album cover, let me describe it for those who can't see, has Scarface on the top in red. And then on the very bottom, all bold, it has the diary. And then it's like a sketch of this empty room being opened where this door's cracked open. You see light emitting from where on the other side, and it's shining light onto this diary book that's on this like pedestal podium. And it seems like it's been written in already. So I'm not sure what the meaning totally is there. What do you guys think about this album cover? Just your first, kind of look at it.
With that door remaining open, that still kind of leaves me with the idea that there's still more to write. There's still more to tell. And the book's not closed. The other thing to mention as well is the factor where it's like the inside. If had the door not been open, this whole area would have been completely dark. So the fact is that there's at least the hope aspect that you get from that open door, but it's still the same door that writes those stories. You're not getting it from inside the room,
Yeah, I feel like with the message on the diary, that's usually kind of where your bottled up secrets lie, So that's why this, I think, book is hidden in this room alone, kind of vaulted in a way. And the fact that it holds truths in itself, I think it's interesting because the light is shining upon it, and it's kind of like the light shines upon your truth. You're right about the door. I feel like in the book being open, I feel like that just means there's more to still write. It's not complete. It's not finished. But I also like the shade of gray. The shade of gray kind of give me maybe the darker undertones that are still kind of hidden within these truths.
I actually think with the door being open and the diary being open, it's kind of like he's inviting us to read it. Yeah, that's kind of my look into that. Like, he's telling us, come read my diary, or I'm going to share some of my diary with you guys. I'm going to share some of my stories.
I heard somebody say something interesting. They were saying if this album was put out today, instead of the diary, it would probably be like the social media, because people put now their business all up on social media, and it would have turned everybody's world over if this album come out like that.
Or in the 2000s, Scarface presents the blog.
Yeah. Seriously. Feels like 06, 04,
Yeah.
the blog. Yeah.
Granted, in 1994, when this album was released as well, I wanted to mention that this was a time in hip hop where the best of the best are releasing their debut albums.
Oh, you're right. That's a crazy year.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That is right.
You have Illmatic being released April 94, Ready to Die in September 94. And then you have Scarface's The Diary in, October 1994. So your Scarface has the advantage in this situation of knowing that
he already knows the
hearing Illmatic, hearing Ready to Die with a little bit of time and be like, oh man, maybe going back to the drawing board on a few things before he presses it.
Yeah, true. True.
No, that's deep.
Which ends in a platinum selling effort with this.
True.
Definitely. That's deep. I mean, I feel like those 3 albums kind of all give you a blueprint of, let me tell this kind of hood story from my perspective, from where I grew up, from the people I know, the people I've seen. And, you know, like they all got different perspectives, from Nas to Biggie to Scarface.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
They're telling the same story from different perspectives.
The best storytellers in each of their
their regions, like literally.
That's crazy.
And they're just, you got from, you know, Queensbridge, you got Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and then you got the south side of Houston, Texas. Like, this is the experience here.
That's a good point. That's a good point you bring up. I forgot about that. That year was crazy. Similarly to 99.
Like how 99 was, yeah.
Similarly to that.
Honestly, you could almost say that about all the years in the 90s. The 90s were deep. Like 96 was a deep year. 93 was deep. Like, there were some deep years in the 90s.
Yeah.
The runtime for and all the album details.
Oh, the runtime for it. First of all, this album did achieve platinum status. Thank you, Mark. Which is important. It was released. Excuse me if I didn't even say all this. Thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. We're discussing the 3rd solo studio album, The Diary, released on October 18th, 1994 by Rap-A-Lot and Not Tribe. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. Excuse me if it's not. This album was one of the few to receive a perfect rating from both the Source magazine and XXL.
Oh, wow.
Which is a great fact about
That's
this.
when 5 mics in the Source meant something, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 charts, and it was certified platinum by the RIAA on December 5th, 1994. So this album is you know, highly praised, and it has its accolades. But the runtime itself, I have to get that in a second later. But I think this album is probably at the like high point of Scarface, because he started to now at this point have a lot of people around him that were gifted in what they did, as far as like support from other producers and other, you know, just probably people that might, you know, throw words at him to help him, you know, write the best material he could write. He writes his own stuff, by the way, but, you know, you can still collab with people still. But then also, too, the fact that he's having live instrumentation on this album or this project, which is just, I mean, that's a nice touch to an album when you have, I mean, you've heard some of the, like the intros to these tracks. So it has like a beautiful piano, just like giving you that in itself is amazing production.
Yeah.
To weave that together with the production of the beats and everything. It's great. Thank you for the runtime. So the runtime of this is 43 minutes.
That's perfect.
It's just an album you got to check out.
Perfect road trip time. I think.
Yeah, it is.
You know what?
Exactly.
Like for the 40 to 50 minute mark on
an
album
is a good place.
The Low End Theory has that time. And I've always felt like, you know, you could always play, if you could play an album in less than an hour on a trip, that does all the better.
Yeah, that's a good place to be in. So for those who haven't really followed us, or if this is your first time watching the show, our format of the show is usually we'll talk about the impact of the artist, we'll talk about the style, We'll go into the album cover, and then what we do is we choose 3 tracks out of the album, and then we just read the lyrics and go into it and just see what they're talking about. So today we are choosing 3 tracks: I Seen a Man Die, Mind Playing Tricks, 94, and Jesse James. Honorable mentions goes to Going Down and No Tears.
Yeah, and peace to Going Down for the end of Going Down on the song.
Yeah,
I
I
heard
knew it
the
sounded
rhythm.
so familiar. I didn't know the artist.
Yeah, I couldn't catch it.
Yeah,
and then I'm like,
he slowed it down, right? And then
It's 99
Classic H-Town,
Love
slowed it down.
Balloons.
yeah, that was.
I was like, oh dang! So it's an example of how cultured the gentleman is.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
then on top of that, I didn't really, mention this, but the dude, like, he's not bad at even singing in that regard when you try to do it. Some rappers just really just can't do it.
No.
He could go there. And on top of that, the dude plays instruments himself. He plays guitar, plays piano. He comes from a family of musicians.
Yep.
He was born into that.
His concert series is going to involve him with a guitar. That's what it was. Yeah, I forgot that's what it was.
That's crazy.
His concert, his little concert tour that he's going to do is going to have that.
So this guy's like a full-on, like, he bleeds music. This guy's a musician.
True.
All the way through. So the first track we're going to discuss is going to be, let's try to go with it in order. Is that going to be, which one first? I Seen a Man Die or Jesse James? Jesse James, right?
Let me see which one's first.
I believe Jesse James is going to be
Yeah, that's Jesse James.
Yeah, Jesse James is first.
So this album, I don't think I mentioned this either, was produced mainly by himself.
Damn.
Tracks 1, 3, 4, 6 to 8, and 10 were produced. So he produced this track for Jesse James himself. But we also have other producers on this. Mike Dean, who produced the intro, who produced Jesse James as well. As well as 4 to 11 and 13. And then No Joe, who produced The White Sheet, I Seen a Man Die, Going Down, Hand on the Dead Body, and The Diary. Man, this guy and this projects are just so big. You know what I mean? So he produced this track for Jesse James. Honorable mention to No Tears. I just felt like No Tears, he was just speaking on to, like, the consequences of the gangsta lifestyle or the street life, like, and just really kind of putting it into perspective and really going into, like, a storytelling of just, what it means to, like, be a man in that sense. And to have, I believe he was saying, like, it was almost like he was murdering somebody and he was telling them, like, there's no more tears, and, like, boom, like, that's just a crazy story, man. The way, just the fact of the no tears and the, like, kind of the menacing, like, feeling that you get even from that like, it sends, like, chills down your body almost, but in the sense, it's like, it's real because, as a man in the streets, you kind of have to show no emotion in that sense, so it, like, speaks to so many things that makes it so relatable. So a piece of that track. Jesse James, I think, is also a dope track. This one, I feel like it just has such a good, the RPMs on it make it, I think, more up to beat, but it's also staying in that same pocket with the storytelling and everything like that. And you'll hear it as we get into that track. So yeah, Jesse James. So verse 1, snuck up behind him, had his hands in his pocket, took my pistol out, unlocked it, pulled the hammer back and cocked it, and left the shit on the carpet. Man, I already like these rhymes already, the scheme. Pocket, unlocked it, cocked it, carpet. And you can tell that it's not just like, I'm just going to rhyme everything like Crockett, Bucket, Walk it. Like, this dude's actually putting thought into each bar, even though the rhyme seems easy, there's thought behind each of these bars. Yeah. I seen a murder. I pinpointed my target I'm making my way out of the building. I got that I came here to get. Notifies children that they old man done fell up out the game because I came through this motherfucker. I killed his ass just like Jesse James.
So the it could be alluding to the fact that Jesse James was killed by that dude. What was it? Jesse James by assassination of the coward Robert Ford. I think it was Robert Ford shot Jesse James in his back. And that's how the story goes. But it's like,
and Jesse James, for those who don't know, it was a famous American outlaw, bank and train robber.
His partner ended up killing him. The guy he was confided in.
That's the worst too. That's like the worst betrayal.
The piece to also, I want to also touch on what you mentioned as well. But keeping the rhyme scheme and still telling the story, is a skill that not a lot of even rappers in the mainstream they don't excel at all the time, because then the great storytellers are literally in their own I would want to say in their own I think trailblaze appropriately versus the people that don't get that don't have that skill set.
Yeah, you always talk about it though. The better storyteller you are, it comes with some sacrifice on the lyrical end, as far as like, rhyming and stuff. Like, it's not as heavy on the rhymes when you get better storytelling.
Right.
Yeah. Here you're getting both.
You got a nice mix of both.
Both of them with no compromise of the other.
And it alleviates that stigma of gangster rap.
Yes, it does. That's another point to that. Because there's just it's so much, it's intelligent, and not to say other stuff like, what Tupac spitting is intelligent too, but I'm just saying, I guess lyrically, like he's speaking as of like a Chuck D, would spit, but has this more street gangsta like style to it. That we would hear later in like DMX or Tupac. Yeah. So then you got the chorus, think it's a motherfucking game. I come around this motherfucker and kill your ass just like Jesse James. I'm not the type that usually cusses, by the way. So I'm doing it for the sake of what he's writing to get the most out of it. What's the motherfucking name? I like that too, because even that, he's kind of like saying like, it's kind of like one of those tracks where it's like, what's my name? Blah, blah, blah. But I like the fact that he's taking on this other alias as Jesse James too. It's dope. It's similarly to like a Scarface, Jesse James, like he's taking on another alias.
Yeah, you know what? So strike my reference of Jesse James being killed then. Yeah, because I literally read it verbatim.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so he's kind of like an outlaw.
So he would be the outlaw.
He's the outlaw.
Got it. There'll be no witnesses to this homicide. No reenactment on the late night news to be dramatized. All you got is with the dot. In the middle of this motherfucking head, he's been shot, dropped in the middle of the floor, and he ain't breathing. And on the go, cause we ain't seen him. We did his dirt and got the fucked up out the picture. The hollow point just hit you out of line, so I got with you. Call the motherfucking helicopter, but ain't no hope, cause the Nina broke that off the hella proper. That oughta hold your monkey ass, motherfucker, you. That ought to teach your funky ass, motherfucking you. I know this motherfucking game is shiced, and you done lost the fucking game of life, and that's a motherfucking shame. You let come around and do your ass just like Jesse James.
So he's doing doing what took Pac's advice,
right?
That's good in that aspect.
Yep, exactly.
This verse called out for that much cursing. It was fully warranted.
Oh yeah,
as far as the description and everything, it's passionate. This is passionate storytelling, and it all boils down to what can he contribute as an MC to the verse, and he does it with his cadence. He does it again with the storytelling, but you end up thinking, you end up with all these expletives, but you're like, oh no, but still you could get the story. You could still get details out of this. It's just not running rampant,
Right. Exactly.
The verse 3, wait, this motherfucker got me bent. I got to break because this done put his hands all up in my face. He best to chill before I hit him with this mace. So either he went medieval with the mace, the big spike ball,
that's right, yep.
or he could go with the mace, the pepper spray, and catch this motherfucking case. Because once I got him blind, it is all right. Then it is just regular mace. Then he's done with, because I'm true to myself. Fuck the dumb shit. Because ain't no motherfucking gangsta G. And when I get up out your ass, you're gonna realize it ain't to be.
Like that.
It ain't no studio up in me, and all that bullshit I'm hearing you talk only offends me. And lately, I'm under a lot of pressure. Go vent, Scarface. It seems to me that you can't come clean, so yo, I got to check you. Pull my 45 and put right before he died. And you could give a motherfucker about the sentence. I snatch your ass up off the hinges because I'm screaming for vengeance. Because life has no meaning. We're all born to die, so no screaming. Think it's a motherfucking game? I come around this motherfucking cut your ass just like Jesse James.
Yeah. And see, I hear like, what Rakim does. Rakim and when he came out, talking about like he ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Talking about the sucker MC. And it's like Scarface took that and did another whole thing with it and like went there and was like, you think this is a game? But like, I love the fact that he took it further. He just like built upon it, which is like dope.
Every rapper has a mark there, just like it's either the sucker MC.
Yeah. That's like the great MC's enemies, the sucker MCs.
I mean, I just even like just when he said it ain't to be, like that's
even that swag
like
to it.
Just to take a word and just invent a word that's not a word, but it just fit. It just like that's so hip-hop.
It sounds right too.
Yes,
it just sounds like it.
Like
right.
I like when MCs do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to be really behind what you're writing in that aspect because it could fall flat if not presented well.
And also, I want to say this does remind me of KRS-One. When he talks about the 9mm, like it brings me back to that as well. And I know those are two idols that he looks up to as well. And
also playing into his abilities, gun talk is always going to be, you're going to get it in battle rap. You're going to get it in gangster rap. You're even going to get it in every aspect of hip hop. Right. But to be different and in this aspect, pull out my 45 and add sound effects to it. You're actually like saying them.
Yeah.
Right. I've always been a fan of that.
It's reminiscent of like trap today where it's like, like, how they do that.
Yeah. And then even going with like kind of like an expletive, but still kind of sounding like he's shooting a gun and right before he died.
Yeah.
Almost like just going like almost pulling off a fuck.
Right.
At the end.
Right. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah, but I feel like, today for sure, like even with trap and all that stuff, like if you go all the way back to like circle back to where that comes from, this is the guy. This is the guy.
Did it, even back to like, Dre and Snoop, rat-tat-tat-tat, you know what I mean? Like that's,
yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's always been there, you know what I mean? It's just evolved into something else, but that, gun talk, with the sound effects, that's always been around.
Yeah, it's always good to find your own style about it too.
Yeah, I for sure feel like Scarface is one of those artists who is a blueprint in himself. There's just guys like that, Run DMC's like that, Tribes like that, Rakim's like that. There's just these EPMD is like that. De La Soul. There's like this blueprint, and I feel like Scarface has he's had blueprints to work off of, as well as being a blueprint himself.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I don't think that we have as much of as today because everything's so fragmented now, and it's kind of hard to take from that. But I guess there are a few out there. I would say for sure J. Cole would be probably a blueprint you would reference nowadays. Who else? Kendrick, I have to mention, of course.
Yeah.
Even Griselda, as far as groups, or even Migos, maybe. Those would be kind of similar blueprints you could relate to nowadays.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, that's a thing, and I think that's also important that we like build upon those blueprints that are successful like that.
Yeah, because the blueprints are honestly the one of ones at that period in time. So it starts off, it honestly, those one of ones, let's take Scarface, for example.
Yeah.
Starts off his own branch in hip hop.
Right.
Which then buds to several other people within it.
Right.
Within, Houston hip hop in the mid 90s. So it's always those one of one people that branch out different seeds. I mean, Kendrick is going to keep perpetuating new artists that are influenced by him.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's always the one of one guy because no one has sounded like him before or after.
Right. No.
But definitely influenced by the blueprint. Honestly, creates copies and sometimes bad replicas.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the blueprint always is the mold.
Right. Yep.
True.
Yep. And even I would say even Drake in himself is a blueprint.
Oh, for sure.
Lil Wayne, another blueprint. Eminem's a blueprint.
Absolutely.
There's
You can even
guys.
call them trailblazers, but we provide the best example of hip hop.
Jay-Z, Kanye
is going to be
guys.
the tree to describe it.
Right. All right. So then, so now we're moving on to the second track that we chose, which is "I Seen a Man Die." Man, this track.
Love this one.
Yeah, this track is really just something else.
You think that this would be a track Necro wrote?
You would think.
I
right?
seen a man die.
I seen a man die. Necro.
Man, like
Necro, Scarface.
Blood, goring. He's dying.
The ultimate team.
No
Necro,
ambulance.
Scarface.
He's rotting.
oh man.
He's rotting in the gutter.
You imagine that kind of duo album? You had
Yeah.
Necro and Scarface.
Necro.
Ultimate gore.
Ultimate gore.
It was like the most polite version of Necro is Scarface.
What was that? There's another guy too. You mentioned him before. I think Dr.
Dr. Octagon?
Dr. Octagon.
Yeah.
Necro, Scarface, all do a track. That'd be crazy.
Man.
And then, just have...
Eminem, throw an Eminem in there.
Oh Lord.
dude,
Just all this gore in there.
quick sidebar, Dr. Octagon's super... I can't wait to do Dr. Octagon Ecologist.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I just saw a music video because when you mentioned him one time and I saw his music video, I was like, what the
Everyone's
hell?
like, well, that's cool, Keith. I'm like, yeah, duh.
Oh, all right. So let's get into this dope track here. So like you were saying, Mark, you would think it was like that, but
Oh no.
this dude, this is like one of those ones. If I wanted to point somebody to the storytelling, I'd be like, "Yo, check out, I Seen a Man Die."
Yes.
This is the storytelling. This is like a movie. I'm seeing a movie.
Yep.
What's happening?
This is a movie.
So the intro is Friend and Scarface, and he's like exiting prison, and he's just kind of talking about what you're gonna do. So what are you gonna do when you get out of here, Cat Daddy? I don't know, dog. I'm just trying to live it one day at a time, I hear you talking, man. Live it one day at a time. It ain't nothing but a thing, though, bro. Yeah, I hear you, fool. Will you let me get up out of here? My ride out here waiting for me. All right, Cat Daddy. Take it easy, baby. You stay up, fool. Peace. So now he's getting picked up. Verse 1, he greets his father with his hands out, rehabilitated slightly, but glad to be the man's child. The world is different since he's seen it last, out of jail. Been 7 years, and he's happy that he's free at last. Look at that. Just even the way he wrote that is very Shakespearean even. All he had was his mother's letters. Now he's mobile, and he's got to make a change and make it for the better.
Dang.
But he's black, so he got one strike against him. And he's young, plus he came up in the system. But he's smart, and he's finally making 18. And his goal's to get on top and try to stay clean. So he's calling up his homie who done came up, living lavish. Now they dealing with the same stuff and had the attitude that who he was worth land. And with that fucked up attitude, he killed his first man.
Damn.
these bars, man, just each one of them, boom, boom. Now it's different. He done did dirt and realized killing men meant coming up, but it still hurt. I don't know how is it that in one bar, like the setup bar and then the second bar, like he really puts you on this edge, like this cliff, where it's like just at that point, it's like turning a chapter because it's like so heavy. I don't know, like artists, too many MCs who just have that ability to constantly do that, where it feels like you're falling off an edge off of each bar. And can't nobody change this? It's 1994 and we up against the same shit. I never understood why I could never see a man cry till I seen a man die. Man, cry.
The verse 1 is the first act of this this movie that we're watching.
Right, exactly.
And even to play onto his name, Scarface, we've provided the Wordsworth example, where a name like that is going to. You're going to have to, that's writing a check that you have to cash.
Oh, yeah.
So with being Scarface,
that's the
you
movie.
need to be.
You better be good.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be.
Prolific.
Got to be that guy.
Right.
Like we use for the Wordsworth example.
Or Jizza, these names.
Like, Jizza the Genius, Big Daddy Kane. With Scarface, this is a name that, once written down, it's almost like it's almost etched in. It's almost signed in blood.
Yeah,
right? Because you got to go through with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
so
deep.
Cinematic for sure, especially in this first act, dealing with the 4 bars I would want to mention. But he's black, so he got one strike against him, and that's going to hit home for a lot of people. He's young, plus he came up in the system. It's just bars like that are always going to be. They're going to hit people different, and some people are going to appeal to that. But circling back to what I wanted to mention, this is starting off as a very, again, it's appealing to his storytelling quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I just feel like the storytelling is maybe, dare I say it, like maybe a little bit even more precise than Ice Cube's. And Ice Cube is a damn hell of a story writer. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, some of the details in the way he writes it is a little bit more sharper.
It's so detailed. Like, he leaves nothing out. And it's so visual. Like, you feel everything. And then it gets deeper in verse 2 and then even more deeper in verse 3. Like, he does, like, you literally feel what he's saying.
Yeah, I just want to say lyrically, at least, it's a little sharper for me. However, we know obviously Ice Cube is like freaking, I mean, he's a screenwriter. Yeah. Like he's done it. He's done it. So I can't take nothing away from Ice Cube. Ice Cube did it. But I'm just saying it just feels a little sharper as far as he doesn't fill in the blanks. When he does, like you mentioned, when he does curse, it's properly placed. It's not to fill anything. It's not a filler.
Oh no.
So that's I guess how I want to say it. Verse 2, imagine life at this full peak, then imagine lying dead in the arms of your enemy. And right there, I just see, to your mention of Scarface, Scarface at his peak, and then at the end of the movie, sorry to spoil it, but he's
yes. I mean, if you ain't seen it by now,
way to spoil a 40-year-old movie there, Isaiah.
He's laying in the pond of his own, his own fountain there.
Yeah.
So I just see that imagery. Imagine peace on earth when there's no grief. Imagine grief on this earth when there's no peace. Oh, look at that back and forth there. Everybody's got a different way of ending it, and when your number comes for souls, then they send it in. Now your time has arrived for your final test. I see the fear in your eyes and hear your final breath. How much longer will it be till it's all done? Total darkness at ease. Be at all one. I watched him die, and when he dies, let us celebrate. You took his life, but from your memory you'll never take. You'll be headed to another place, and your life you used to live will reflect your mother's face. Oh. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, each freaking bar, dude, is heavy. I had to do that for Scarface.
Dang.
Yeah. So I just feel like I don't know how he does it though. He's one of those unique artists that just at the end of the bar, it leaves you like, oh, what?
That's emotion, man. That's like 6 bars of emotion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. No, like I mean that's what like this song, like it's not a lot of rap songs or hip hop songs that make me fight tears. The first time I heard this, I was like I was fighting tears listening to this.
Right.
This was deep.
Yeah.
Like from the beat, the production, the way it was built, even in between, like there really isn't a hook. There's no hook. He just says in the verse, and then they just, kind of play the beat. Yeah. But you feel it in those brief moments when there's no words. That's the moment you feel the emotions.
It's like tracks like this is like the prequel to tracks that you later on hear, like Dear Mama or something. Like,
yes.
This is kind of like the foundations of a Dear Mama. Mm-hmm. When you really think about it. And absolutely. I feel like Pac probably got inspiration
for sure.
from Scarface.
Absolutely.
Maybe to even write something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's about the bar being set, promotes healthy competition.
Yep.
This is I bet you just mainstream rappers around this time are listening to other people's albums and just garnering the respect, understand that there's healthy competition there. But it always aspires the people that take that and they just do better.
Sorry, I got to do the third verse. I have to. This I love this verse, man. He goes, I hear you breathing, but your heart no longer sounds strong. But you kind of scared of dying, so you hold on. And you keep on blacking out, and your pulse is low. Stop trying to fight the reaper. Just relax and let it go. Because there's no way you can fight it through. You'll still try. And you can try to still and fight it, but you'll still die. Your spirits leave your body and your mind clears. The rigor mortis starts to set. Now you're out of here. You start the journey into outer space. You see yourself in the light, but you're still feeling out of place. So you're standing in the tunnel of eternal life, and you see the ones you never learned to love in life. Make the choice, let it go, and you can back it up. If you ain't at peace with God, you need to patch it up. Damn. But if you're ready, close your eyes, we can set it free. Eli's a man not scared to die. May he rest in peace. Still gotta wonder why. I never seen a man cry till I seen that man die. That right there, like, it's one thing. There's a million songs talking about people dying. This dude took you through the process of death.
Who has done that?
He literally outlined the process like he's seen it before.
Yeah.
He's describing it like he's died before.
Yeah,
literally
exactly. Like he's been there, which is
crazy,
really crazy. Like I
unbelievable.
I have never heard an MC be able to take you there on the afterlife in this fashion. In this fashion,
he's telling you you trying to fight, but you wasting your time. Like you're gone. You're gonna go.
Is there other MCs that have talked about the afterlife in that way? I mean, I believe Pac has before. Right?
He has,
yeah,
but I don't think there's detailed as far as the journey of death.
No. Like the whole journey there.
Like the journey of death. This is it. Like Pac has spoken on death. Biggie has. Like a lot of rappers have spoken on death.
Even the aspect of outer space, people only talk about the creation of the universe, like the Big Bang and stuff like that, but they don't get as deliberate as that.
Yeah.
No. The one thing I wanted to play a key example in that I actually learned the other day, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Terminator 2. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I realized just watching it like, I think it was a couple months ago, the T-800 only assists in killing one thing at the very end. He launches the grenade launcher to the T-1000, and then I think Sarah Connor shoots him or tips him over or something. But the T-800 never kills anyone in Terminator 2. And in this aspect, Scarface only cursed one time.
Yep.
In this song.
I didn't realize
so that. It actually shows his the self-control, I guess.
Right.
The discipline.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. The ability to know when the curse.
I'm not cursing just to curse.
Right.
Yeah. So it's this is the example that you guys can learn and understand that no, Scarface just doesn't do it just to do it as a filler.
No.
You know, it's
to evoke real emotion. When I'm saying motherfucker, I mean it.
Yeah.
I'm not just
that's
saying
the difference.
Yep.
I feel like to the aspect where we were talking about like the whole journey through death now on the other side, I liken it to Christopher Nolan on the Interstellar. Nobody's seen a black hole. No one knows any idea what it would be like to go into a black hole. Yet he did a movie about going into the black hole.
Right.
Which is just
and what's on the other side of it.
Crazy. Yeah. And what's on the other side. And I guess I like that he shows here his imagination and how he's able to just really depict that, you know, that journey and able to descriptively, you know, talk about something, a place where he's never been, but somehow he's able to bring it to life.
Yeah,
like, you know,
amazing.
That shows you the level of skill. If you're able to bring something to life, it's really your imagination that you're making it to happen. And that is dope. I give
absolutely
credit to one of the other artists that we talked about before. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. The Homo sapien.
Del the Funky
Homo sapien. I mean, the imagination that you have to have in order to create this imaginary world, you know.
Yeah, your key example, the Deltron 3030 album.
Yeah, that is
describing tech that's not even here yet.
Right.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that shows a lot of skill to be able to do something like that. So you already see like there's so much there's so many different dynamics to this MC Scarface. Like there's so much to him that it's not just it's not one dimensional. He is different, like things going on here that's multi-layered where he's just that skilled, man. And it goes maybe under the radar somehow. I don't know how, but it does.
Somehow.
So this one was a definite gem in this album. We're going on to the last track, which we chose, which is Mind Playing Tricks, which was a sequel really to the Mind Playing Tricks on Ghetto Boys, which is pretty dope. I like that. I was going to say with this was one of the tracks that like I remember as one of the ones that I remember hearing. It was just such a classic joint. Like I just feel like this track is so like universally like pleasing. Like you could hear it, listen to it for any occasion almost. It's just like you're chilling.
It's one of the lighter songs on the album.
Yeah.
Still got some substance, but definitely much lighter than a lot of the other content for sure.
Yeah, I liked what Ali was saying because we were talking about our honorable mentions, and he said Going Down was one of yours, right? Because
it's a lighter song. You know, he's talking about a girl, you know what I mean? You know, a girl that's, you know, sleeping around and, hey, if that's your baby mom, you better not, you know, love her too much because I'm over here smashing that. Like it's a light song, you know what I mean? It was a nice change of pace for the album.
Right.
Because like I said, by the time you get to that song, 100 people done died already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, let's take a nice little break. Funny. Let's talk about some girls. You know what I mean? Lighten it up. Let me sing a little bit.
Effectively placed on the.
It's like a perfect. It's like the perfect placement. You know what I mean? It's like
the intermission.
Okay, let's take a break.
That's another thing I want to talk to him because like about around the early 90s, you know, singles was the thing. It was about singles.
Oh yeah,
dropping singles. That was the more important thing. But Scarface focused on the entire album.
Correct.
You know, which plays to his point about how you said the placement of that track even just shows you how much detail he's putting into the album. The
sequence mattered.
Yeah, that matters. On top of that, the production, it matters.
Absolutely.
To him. You know, he really feels that he's a better producer than he is a MC, which is another crazy thing to say. But he puts the attention to detail in that aspect.
Right.
And I felt like with the live instrumentation, you know, the beautiful intros and the guitar riffs and everything that's going on in here, like it just reminds me of like a Kanye, you know, but like this is like before, way before
super
Kanye,
early,
which is crazy. So Mind Playing Tricks on Me is the track. This one was produced by Mike Dean. Mike Dean on this beat. So on this one, first one, intro, I sit alone in my four-corner room staring at candles. Are we on the radio, Dukes? Oh, yeah. Give it to me, yeah.
That's how the original starts too.
Verse 1, you want to take that one, Mark?
Yeah. At night I can't sleep. I'm tossing and turning. I still got the candlesticks burning. It ain't changed, but it's a different time. And I'm still playing tricks with my mind. My mother's always stressing that I'm living wrong. But I got my Smith & Wesson because I'm getting grown. And they're looking at your little boy's success. And I've been thinking I'm dealing with too much stress. So I stay up on my P's and Q's and watch out for the G's and fools. Because the homies that I thought I had see me stacking up a grip and they started talking bad. So I stay away from outsiders. And when I roll through, it makes them open their mouth wider. I used to think that you was my one and only homie. My mom was playing tricks on me.
What a segue into that chorus. That's just a dope way to go into that chorus.
My one and only homie.
My one and only homie.
My mom was playing tricks on me.
Like I like even just like something simple when he said, so I stay up on my P's and Q's.
Right.
And I watch out for the G's and fools.
Oh,
like that's
yeah,
it's not super complicated, but there's still pattern there. There's still flow there. Like I love
finding
like
opportunity in everyday sayings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be the same thing as packing the jammy, talking about nooks and crannies or something like that. Just the weirdest things. Like he found the opportunity to capitalize on P's and Q's and make it his own.
Yep.
And I always find that even the humor aspect, like he was talking about the bar, my mother's always stressing that I'm living wrong, but I got my Smith & Wesson because I'm getting grown. Like,
yeah.
I even like the humor in there because that's dope.
I'm growing up now. Gotta carry.
So that's dope. Verse 2, Dear Diary, I'm having a little problem with my mind state. How many bullets would it take to change my mind? Wait, sometimes I want to end it, but I don't though. They tell me see my pastor, but I don't go. I love the setup to that because they all be on this one street. So I take it on myself to thank him one deep and give my money to the most needy and never put it in the hands of the most greedy. Bar. And then because they're putting a price tag on my man's word, and it's a fashion show, so the men flirt. The world is ending, so they try to make us switch fast, and they opening up these churches for some quick cash. Ooh. Critiquing even the churches, man. Everybody's getting it. And using the money for they new cribs. Well, Brother Johnson just got kicked out where he lived. I want to say something, but I don't want to say something because people be watching the podcast, and I don't want to say, I won't put anybody on blast, but dang, I hear the truth in these bars. I follow no man because man be phony. My mom was playing tricks on me. Oh, shit. Give him that.
Man, like, that was just, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, like Scarface, he has these great, like, setup bars.
Yeah, he does. He's good at that.
Sometimes I want to end it, but I don't, though.
Right.
They tell me see my pastor, but I don't go. Right, it's just, you go one place, you think he's going to go, and then he comes back with something.
It's
like
a punchline.
Yeah.
It's a punchline. The way he delivers that.
It's amazing how he does that, like, so consistently, man. I love that.
Yeah, because that's the thing that makes you go like, it's because it is that's what a punchline does.
It's a punch,
right?
Yep.
I mean, even you think comedically, like you got to have that, not just that it's the punchlines with the setup and then the punch. You know, even in boxing, you set up,
set up punches. Yeah, absolutely.
So
definitely,
he has that skill, that attribute in his writing. That's dope. That's a dope skill set to have. Some MCs kind of forget the art of the punchline even, you know, and that's dope that he's keeping that in there.
Definitely.
Verse 3, go ahead, Ali. You can do that one.
Take it
I
on.
like this. Day by day, it's more impossible to cope. I feel like I'm the one that's doing dope. Can't seem to keep my mind on a steady track. I'm about getting mine, so I study that. But it seems that they want to get me. So I try to keep my 9mm with me, just in case they want to see a homie's head blown. but I gotta stay around to see my kids grown. I finally found a woman who could deal with me. Back then I had a woman who wasn't real with me, and now she's back with an old lady. Now I gotta get going on so that she'll hate me. Now I'm a goner, she's a loner. Her mind was playing tricks on her.
Oh, I like the flip. The flip is sick. Yeah.
Flipped it at the end. I love how he started the verse.
Playing tricks on her.
Because that's how he started his verse in the original.
Yeah.
So in the original, those first 2 bars, or that first 2 bars, he said, "Day by day, it's more impossible to cope. I feel like I'm the one that's doing dope." Like that.
Yeah.
That's just that classic reference to the original. So
Right.
I love that he took it back there.
Yeah. Man, I don't even know what more I can say about this dude, man. I feel like this dude is just like a one of one. The fact that we still got this legend around too is dope, or that he's doing shows and all that coming up.
Absolutely.
That's sick. And this is just one album. And this is only 3 tracks we've covered.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the body of work? Like, there's still some more dope albums under this guy's belt.
We threw a pebble in a large lake.
Exactly.
Right.
This is a world that you can get sucked into, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of his skill set that we've even dived into. So there's much more to listen to and experience out of the discography of Scarface. Man, and there's just so much dope music out of this guy. Not to mention probably the features that this guy's hopped on, or the production he's done. Yeah. Who was it that somebody was telling him that they wanted him to produce their project? I can't remember if it was Ice-T. I believe Ice-T wanted him to produce his project to make a comeback.
Dang,
that's sick.
One of his best features was "This Can't Be Life." It's a Jay-Z song, another early Kanye beat. But his verse was so deep. Like, they were talking about, Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel were talking about, certain, subjects and things. Guy. But in Scarface, he couldn't even talk about his life because a friend of his had just passed, and he had to talk about that on that song.
That's great.
It was just so deep, and you felt him. He's just so good at that.
Yeah, dude. Heavyweight for sure.
Yeah.
Beanie Siegel, though, you mentioned Beanie Siegel. There's another guy there that's like a descendant of guys to the likes of Scarface.
Oh, absolutely. They've worked together. They have like 4 or 5. They have like 3 or 4 songs together. They almost did an album together.
Yeah.
It didn't materialize, but they've done about 3 or 4 songs together.
Yeah. Man, dude. So this guy's just, I can't say enough about like the legendary status. There's still more projects that I got to dive into. That he's done, and I just know, like, just from hearing the respect out of so many MCs, it's for a reason. Yeah, it's for a reason, and
definitely,
I think owe a lot in some respects to Scarface, his work, and a lot of MCs, tip the cap to this guy. A lot of legendary MCs tip the cap to this guy for his inspiration to their music, which shows you how early on, and how much of a seed he really was to what we would later have in the West Coast, even in the South. He has respect of the East.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he literally has the blessing of all 3 areas, even the area that he kind of cultivated.
Right.
It's even Drink Champs has that slew of people thanking him from both regions, and then even the region of his own.
Norier said that he wanted to start the show based off of him. Like, he was like the inspiration of them starting the podcast.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Yep, because he's one of those artists that just didn't get enough love.
Right.
So he wanted to make sure that they had a platform where he could easily come through, share his story, and get his flowers.
That's nuts, huh? That's nuts. So, so big ups to this album, The Diary. I mean, this album is so nice. You got to listen to the whole thing through. to really get the experience of just the live band that's behind him. The dude's a musician, like fully, like, you know, from top to bottom, this dude's about it. Production wise, lyrically, he's about it. Just even actively, he's about it. So man, there's just, we can't pay enough respects to this guy, Scarface, and for all the work that he's done. So you guys got to check out the album. Before we leave, we are on the road to 500 subscribers on YouTube. We're on the road to, now I would say 3,000 on TikTok and I don't know, 1,000 on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
So we need your guys' help. Please feel free to share the show and drop a comment, drop a like. Let us know how, what first, you know, podcast episode you saw of us. You know, drop a comment about the artists, who you want us to cover. You know, we're actively looking at that and taking everybody's feedback and, you know, applying it to the show. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Follow us on all social platforms. We are now going to keep on this journey and see how far it goes. We got a lot of albums to cover. I can't even believe we covered so many so far.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to cover. So,
Oh, yeah.
And also too, Mark has a pin business, if you guys didn't know. And he provides a lot of dope different pins that you guys could use to swag up on, you know, your caps if they're, you know, lacking in their macking, or your backpacks or whatever you got. You know, if you want to just swag out, Mark is your plug.
Yeah.
Mark, give them a little details of how they can find you and what.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to the notoriouspin.com. Where we have over about 50 unique designs ranging from like video game controllers to our Poke Rapper series with the likes of Drakachu, Charpak, all those classic ones. Going 7 years with those designs, so it's cool, man.
7 years. That's crazy.
Also make sure to follow us on Instagram at @LNotoriousPin and the Notorious Pin on TikTok.
Yeah, we follow him on TikTok too. So.
And so go ahead and check it out. See if you find something you like and add it to the cart and seal the deal, and I'll ship it.
Yep. And Ali, of course, thank you for being a guest again on the show.
My pleasure, man.
Ali is one of those recurring guests that we will have on. You know, guy knows a lot about music, knows a lot about sports, which is cool. Just, you know, overall pretty solid dude. We've known Ali for a long time, since high school. You want to drop where they can find you at, Ali?
Sure. You can catch me on Instagram at Hip Hop's Godson. That's HIPHOPSGODSON. Also, I have a poetry book out, Restoring the Feeling. Go ahead and check that out. It's a digital book, where all books are sold online. And my second book, The Inspiration, will be out later this year. So once I have it published, I will begin plugging that as well. So,
bro, that's sick, dude. I didn't know that you had that going on. That's dope. All right, so go ahead, Mark.
The MCs, drop a like, drop that mic. How does it go? No, I'm just kidding. To the MCs, drop the mic, drop that like, and get us all up in that algorithm.
Yeah, and
like, share, subscribe,
and drop the sub, and drop the share, and drop the DM, and the comment, and repost.
All the above.
Please. That way we get involved. We're trying to get involved with y'all, man.
Create us a fan page.
Create a fan page. Fan fiction. That's hip hop fan
find
fiction.
Find us on X. All right, ladies.
Peace.